No, no, Hawaii. That's where all
Okay.
the kahunas were, the land of the kahunas.
Mhm. I'll say one interesting thing about St. Croix before we get started. This is not a volcanic island. It was actually um, the ash from the surrounding islands settled on the coral reef, and that's how the soil started.
What island
Which
are
is
you on?
St. Croix, and anyways, that's super interesting. So the like I went out to the coral reef yesterday and did snorkeling, and the water is like super shallow, really far out from shore. Um,
The fish.
so it's just a really interesting way that the island was created.
Was there much to see?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's one of the best preserved coral reefs in the Caribbean.
it's an atoll, isn't it?
No, it's no. I mean,
No.
there's three U.S. Virgin Islands, but yeah. Anyways, the rest of them are volcanic. This one is sedimentary, which
Uh-huh.
is pretty interesting. Anyways, sorry, Rabbi, I'm taking away from the class. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
The only person we'll mind is YouTube. Um, in every case, I wanted to, because we're really contextualizing, we're following the the process of the birth of Israel, the rebirth of Israel. And there's, and I'm trying to trace the very beginnings of it. And certainly, if I want to go back, the beginning would be Isaac Luria showing up in Tzfat. Shalom Alecha to London. Isaac Luria, certainly the beginning of the return to Israel. Well, 1240 is the year 5000. And that's the period of time that Isaac Luria was teaching what he taught. Only 2 years to Chaim Vital, and it all got written down, Eitz Chaim and other things. And that began the whole modern, both Kabbalah and history, of history, well, what Kabbalah taught about history, the rabbis starting to act upon it, as it were. And basically, what Isaac Luria said very to his students, we have to return to Israel. The children of Israel were in exile. We have to end the exile. The next 1,000 years is the period for which the exile is going to end, has to end by the year 6,000. The Beit Hamikdash has to be rebuilt, and all the prophetic uh, descriptions will be fulfilled. And that began a slow movement through Chaim Vital and the students of Isaac Luria, bringing this teaching to the leaders of the Jewish world, as it were. And we had people beginning to return. But as individuals, and part of the Isaac Luria teaching, maybe Zoharic is the source of it, is that the sixth part of the sixth millennium, there'll be a real pickup of the energy, and that corresponds to the year 5600, which corresponds to the year 1840 in our calendar. And that was actually right before that was one of the first return of a group of people with the kavanah that their return is the beginning of the return of multitudes to Israel. And that began as a teaching of the Vilna Gaon. And it's recorded in an extraordinary sefer called Kol HaTor, the voice of the turtle dove. and it contains, I just want to find it here. It contains, yeah, it's on Safaria has a good a translation of it. We're going to be reading from it, but what I did was basically okay. Here it is. Now, the introduction to it, which explains the history of it, is not online. I took photographs of it from the Sefer that I have, and I just want to read through it with you fairly quickly, parts of it, and we'll tell the story, and then we'll read from the beginning of the Sefer itself, from the actual teachings. But this is the story of both the teachings and the people that responded to them. And here's the cover of the Sefer. Okay. And it's called Kol HaTor, the verse of the call of the turtle dove. And there's actually a very good English translation of the entire book. I have it at Beit Harav, otherwise I would have. I'm not sure how much of all the introductions it has. Maybe it has all of it. But in every case, if anyone's interested, it's really worth getting. But he says, these are the teachings of the Vilna Gaon, Rabbeinu Eliyahu from Vilna, and his revelations. These are the revelations that he revealed and that he received about the period of the beginning of the Geula. It's the events of the beginning of the Geula, the mitzvotea, and what are the commandments that are attached to that? What do we need to do in this time period, which is the beginning of the Geula? That was his revelation, was that, yes, this is the beginning of the Geula, and it describes how. But let's go into the text and I'll summarize, and I tried here to do it in a way that we won't get confused in the pages, and I think I succeeded. But it's a fascinating story, and here's the very beginning of it. That in order to understand the spirit and the giving themselves over to this task, to this goal, that the students of the Vilna Gaon, and they took upon themselves the dangerous trip to the land of Israel. It was an 11-month trip in little boats on many different waters, and all their suffering that they went through when they settled. They ended up in the land of Israel in a time of disease and plagues and all those things. But to understand the great stubbornness that motivated them, well, we need to know about the spiritual sources of Sa'arat Eliyahu, the storm of Eliyahu, Eliyahu being the Vilna Gaon, that the teachings of the Vilna Gaon about the return of the exiles and the settlement in the land of Israel, and that was the foundation, because of these spiritual teachings, that they gave their lives over and to go through water and fire in order to move the Geula closer through the commandment, by fulfilling the commandment of their teacher, the Vilna Gaon. And the beginning of it speaks a lot. Well, let's forget. All right. All right.
One question. Sorry, one question before we start. I think Nahum said that there was like 500 students. Is that right, or is that a different group?
Yeah, that's right. It was right about 1809.
It is. It was
1809, that's
500.
what we're getting to, but it wasn't 500.
It was
According to
less.
this is what we're getting to that.
Oh, okay.
And he says that it was known the Vilna Gaon he got a lot of teachings from the verse of Tehillim, Vayehi be'shalem suko u be'me'onotayich Sion. And hold on. And here's the verse. It's in Tehillim. Tehillim 76 for leader Asaph. Noda beYehuda Elohim. In Yehuda, Judah Elohim is known. BeIsrael, in the land, in Israel, his name is great. And the next verse is the one that Vilna Gaon got a lot from. Yehi b'shalem suko. In Shalem, which is a nickname sort of word for Yerushalayim, is also set his sukkah, his tabernacle, ume'unato, and his dwelling place is Betzion. And then look at the next verses, and there he broke the fiery shafts of the bow, the shield, the sword, and the battle. And glorious are you coming down from the mountains of prey. And it seems to describe, we could go on and speculate, but the verse they mention is just that verse, that in Jerusalem God set his tabernacle and his dwelling places in Zion. And based on that verse, it continues to describe based on that verse, the Gra taught.
Is that from the sons of Korach? Who's the
That's
author?
no, that's from Tehillim. It's a psalm. It's a psalm of David.
Yeah, but David didn't write it.
Yes,
who
he
wrote
did.
it?
No, it's Psalm 76. That's it.
Okay.
And so the words of the Vilna Gaon about that the entire kibbutz galiot, the bringing everybody back from exile, is dependent on doing the commandments that require the land of Israel. That's what the first thing we have to do is do those commandments. And then it talks about a commentary even on Sefer Yetzirah about Mashiach ben Yosef first, Mashiach ben second, but let's keep going. He says, here's what it mentions. Zemeh be'arba'im shana. It's been, I guess, when this book was published, when this introduction was written, he's saying it was 140 years ago.
It must have been 1950, something like that.
So it's 1850, yeah, 1950.
No, 1950, yeah.
Yeah, because here he says, this was 140 years ago from the day that our ancestors, and it's one of the children of these people, the students of the Gra, came to Eretz Israel in the year Taf Kuf Samechtet, which is 1809. It was the first group, B'Shivim Nefesh, 70 people who came from Shklab, which was a place, and they arrived. Yavne Dreisen, they arrived in Tzfat on the 8th of Elul, 1809. And then it says, who can possibly tell of their Mesirut Nefesh? Let's go to the next page here.
I just want to say that from what I read was that Hillel Rivlin came.
We're getting to him. We're getting to him. We're getting to him.
There
I
was
just want to add
70
one thing.
then, but there were eventually in the next 2 years, it turned into 500.
I just want to add one thing,
Others joined them.
which is important. It's a psalm of Asaph. Interestingly enough, that's what that Tehillim is. That's interesting.
That's significant as well. Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
because that will be mentioned later. That's probably quite very significant. So he says that they made these shayara of shivim nefesh, and of course 70 was the number of people that went down to Egypt. So it was specifically they wanted to get it. And in the page I skipped here, there's a listing of who the 70 were, the families, and all sorts of names. But these 70 people made a long, dangerous trip over land and water that took 10 months. Yamim shalosh me'ot v'nachshot until they finally showed up in 1809 in Tzfat. But before they went on this trip, they went to Lulazin to separate from the Chaim of Volozhin, who was the big leader then. He was the Rosh Yeshiva. And they describe here that Chaim of Volozhin, when these people came to see him before they left on their trip, he demanded, he directed everybody in his yeshiva to go outside and receive them and all that. And this particular yeshiva Volozhin was famous that never ever for any reason did learning stop. Even on Shabbat, they had things. Somebody was always learning, day and night. They always had shifts of people learning. This was the only known time he told every single student to stop learning and come outside, and we'll give blessings to these people that are returning to Israel. So that's what it describes here, how special this was. And so forth. Okay. Then the purpose, here's another introduction. He says the purpose of them doing this was to bring the complete Geula closer. And that's actually, they took it into action. Now, the next introduction has all right, we'll go to that. Oh, I forgot about. Look. I would have had this lined up, but I forgot that the computer was slow. Okay. In this next introduction about this whole thing, they tell a little more details of the story. This is speaking from Rabbi Benjamin Rivlis of Sheklov, and he explained that Rabbeinu Hagra, our teacher, the Vilna Gaon, was merited to be able to spread his wings over all of the Mekamana Sitrei Torah. He knew all the pathways in all the secrets of the Torah, both in breadth and in depth, including all the gematriot and hints and hidden secrets that no one else knew, and especially in the detail of the return to our beloved land and the settlement in our land of Tiferet and the building of our holy land. That manifestation, that came in Ruach HaKodesh to the Beit Midrash of the Gra. There was a whole wave of Ruach HaKodesh. And he says to us, we are the descendants of this family, that especially our whatever generation, Rabbi Hillel, and here's Hillel of Shklab that we mentioned. Nachum, you're on mute.
That was Binyamin's son.
Thank you. So here's exactly, Rabbi Hillel merited to be many days together with the Vilna Gaon, and he received from him many hidden secrets about the matter of settlement of the land of Israel. And the Vilna Gaon commanded Rabbi Hillel to awaken Ahava HaYeshana El Me'onei Elohei Kedem, to awaken the old love, the ancient love for the dwelling place of God, which is Zion and Yerushalayim. He told them it is now time to awaken the love for Zion and Jerusalem in the people of Israel. That's what he commanded him to do. This is what you need to do. But this is and I mean, look at the love that's been awakened. But we're talking about late 1700s. And L'hachzira lekadmuta. We have to restore the love for the land of Israel as it was before, and to be able to establish it as it was in days before, and to grow its splendor, and to lishkon kvod betocha, bring honor to it, because when Jerusalem will be built, then King David will come, Mashiach ben David will come. And most of the things that he heard from the Vilna Gaon about this, Rabbi Hillel wrote, put them in the book called a Torah. The book that we're going to soon get to the first chapter of, that's the teachings that the Vilna Gaon, the secret teachings that he gave them over. And then it explains that, okay. It talks here, oh, maybe, hold on. All right, I want to go to a little later in the same introduction. Good. It is told that when Rabbi Binyamin, I guess Binyamin of Shkilav, this is Rabbi Hillel's father,
Yes.
was 52 years old, he became very rich. In those days, he saw in his dream, he had a dream, the same time that he got very rich, he saw a dream of a chazon nifla al Yerushalayim, of a wondrous vision of Jerusalem. And when he was still under the impression of that dream, Rabbi Binyamin went to his teacher, the Gra, Vilna Gaon, and he told them both about this dream and also about the fact that he just has become very wealthy. So the Vilna Gaon explained to him that this dream is a message from heaven, from the highest heavens that were given to him and to Hillel, his son, that it is upon them to make Aliyah and to settle the land of Israel. And along with them doing this themselves, it was upon them to open, liftoach bepi'ilut nirchevet, with a wide range of activities, le'orer libot Israel l'shivat Zion, to awaken the hearts of Israel to the restoration, the return to Zion. So when I read that, I was like, this is in a way the beginning, an amazing beginning. The Vilna Gaon said, we have to reawaken the passion, the desire for Israel. And you guys get to it, and that's why you got very rich. And then he said, Rabbi Binyamin did many things based on that. And okay, Nishtamra. Okay, so what we still have is a teaching from Rabbi Binyamin about the return from the exiles that's based on a verse in Jeremiah where it says, I will bring you from the land of the north. So according to Rabbi Binyamin, this verse is teaching us that the land of the north, that is Russia, which is the extremely north of Jerusalem. Is Russia directly north of Jerusalem? And especially the city Shaklov, which is, they all came from that family. The Hillel of Shaklov, they're all from that family, from that place.
I think it was pronounced Shklov.
That's probably, oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
and is it north of Jerusalem?
Yeah,
if you go?
yeah, it is. I think Moscow is practically directly north of Jerusalem.
All right, so that's the verse from Jeremiah. I will bring them from, and them. It's multiples. Not I'll bring them from the land of the north, the land of Russia, which is extremely north. He says that will be the beginning of the awakening to the return to Zion and the building of Jerusalem.
I don't know.
Rabbi,
did you mention that 40 years previously, Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk had come? The Hasidim came in 1777. They started in Tiberia, and then they started in Sfat, and they found it too difficult. They went down to Tiberia. So there were 300 of them, which was a considerable.
Good, yeah, simultaneously. Well, so it was, yeah. I'd be interesting to read their like what moved them and who moved
I mean,
them.
he was the leading disciple of the Maggid of Mezrich, and the one who was supposed to write about the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov was supposed to be Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, but because he went to Israel, it then fell on the next in line, who was Shneur Zalman, who wrote the Tanya. But originally, that mission was supposed to be to Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, but he left to go to Israel.
Yeah, so yeah. But here he says, Binyamin, he created a movement calling it Chazon Tzion, the vision of Zion, and he merited to Rov HaOlim HaRishonim, that from I guess Shlob, and that came most of the first Olim, certainly of the Ashkenazi world, let's say.
Yes.
If they came to Eretz Israel, V'tehila Nesle Enei Kol Tfitzet, Rabbi Binyamin left to Eretz Israel, but he passed away.
Mhm.
But Hillel made it, and then the person who put the book Kol HaKol together, the son of Rabbi Binyamin, was he was for 17 years. He was the Vilna Gaon's Mishamish, which means his confidant, helper. He was the closest person to the Vilna Gaon for 17 years. And in the year 1787, when the Vilna Gaon saw that it wasn't, God didn't agree that he should go to the land of Israel. He tried to go, he didn't go. When he realized he wasn't going to go in 1787, he decided to transfer this mission, this heavenly mission that was in his hand, which was to activate the kibbutz, the return from the exiles and the settlement of the land of Israel. He transferred that responsibility to his student, Rabbi Hillel of Shklob, and he made him the beginning of that whole movement, which Chazon Tzion. And to him, the Vilna Gaon gave all the secrets about the beginning of the Gula and all the action, the details of all the activities that Israel has to do in order to bring closer the Gula Shlema. And this Torah about the beginning of the Geulah that Rabbi Hillel received from the Vilna Gaon directly is a very deep and wide Torah. And it's what's found in the Sefer Kol HaTorah that's before us, the book we're about to enter, but they say they have you have to go to the next email to just get the last 2 pages of this, but it's important information because they fill in with the historical information. Akdama number 3, okay. And so then it says, what happened after that, after he was given the mission? I guess it said, what, in 1787? 1782, he was given the mission, but he stayed with the Rebbe. But the Vilna Gaon passed away in 1797. And his Torah, though, did not pass away. His Torah about the returning of the Geula, the beginning of the Geula, it remained alive among his students, and it moved them to do to take this long trip with many dangers. And it says in the year of 1809, again, it's a repetition here, 11 months, on the 5th of Elul, they arrived to Tzfat. And then in 1811, 11 of them, including Rabbi Hillel, moved to Jerusalem. So that was the beginning in 1811 of the rebirth in Jerusalem. When they arrived in Jerusalem in 1811, they found there 20 Sephardic Jews and 9 Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, there were 29 Jews in Jerusalem in 1811. Immediately as they arrived there, they began to establish all the necessary institutions for Jewish settlement. They established institutes for Torah and Chesed. They concerned themselves with providing medical facilities. they established, and this is, I want to find out more about this, but read what it says. They established a security company that was called Gabradia Brigade. I'm not sure. Gabradia. That's the beginning of the Israeli army. That if they wouldn't have created this group, Hagabradia, they wouldn't have been able to live there for even an hour. They would have been attacked immediately by the Arabs, and and that's what Rabbi Hillel and his people, they all did in that period, where there was a period of plagues, robbers, false accusations, a lack of water, very hard, lack of water and food, impossible to connect with the outside. And all of these tribulations went on these first settlers. But if it was not because of their extraordinary emunah in the heavenly mission that was dependent upon them, that they were beginning, they were the first steps in, and afterwards we're going to begin a flood. And this was the Torah of the beginning of the Gula that the Gra inspired them with. If they weren't carried with that, they wouldn't have been able to stand. And then what happened was, when the word came out to Russia that Rabbi Hillel and a portion of the Olim who left were able to settle in Jerusalem, that strengthened an awakening among the Jews of Russia, and many then decided in their hearts, make a decision to La'alot Yerushalayim, to come to Jerusalem. And then when they came, as well, I'm going to skip a little bit, but want to go one more source about this. Skip it. Hold on. I'll say. And here it describes what they did once they got, and just it was really, really the beginning. Okay, so we had this person, and I found Rabbi Yosef was his name, and Moshe, he was known as Derech Tzion. He gave speeches. He was very good at giving speeches about Zionism he did that, but it says here, for the first period, they put their efforts into settling within the walls of the old city and improving conditions within the walls. Rabbi Yosef was the first one who began to build neighborhoods outside the walls of Jerusalem, and he was able to fulfill the prophecy, Harshevi makom ohalech, expand the place of your tent, with an allusion to Jerusalem, in the spirit of the Rabbein of the Gra, and the first 13 neighborhoods that were outside the old wall, the cities of the wall, they were all built by Rabbi Yosef, and the first one was in 1869, Nachlat Shiva, and then it just goes on and on.
This was mostly financed by Moshe Montefiore, who with his wife Judith, made a number of visits from the 1830s, and it was he who financed the first settlements outside of the walls.
Good for him.
And did you mention, I think, that Rivlin was the Reuven Rivlin, who was the president before last of Israel. This was a direct descendant of this family.
And there's in the army Rivlin is a very significant family. Yeah, they kept yes.
I think that Nachlaot
Um,
was also initiated at this time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the beginning of the return to Israel and the rebuilding of Israel. And and then, yeah, all
Amazing.
right. Now we have, I want to spend, let's say, 10 minutes seeing how far we can go in Kol HaTorah, because they're extraordinary teachings. And
Can we look at the Kol HaTorah comes from Shir HaShirim, doesn't it?
the verse itself, yeah,
Yeah.
the voice of the turtle dove, and that's it. But here, so let's just go. I tried to take out, to condense it in some way. So please, I'll read fast, but please follow along. As we stand on the threshold of the beginning of redemption, when the Kol HaTorah, the songbird's time has arrived, which is the year 542 of the sixth millennium. So it's the year 1240 plus 542. Well, how much is that? I'm the only mathematician. 1240 and 542.
1782.
All right, so 1782. At the Vilna Gaon's behest, I guess that's when he transferred to them, saying, I'm not going. You're the one who's got, it's your mission now. The Vilna Gaon's behest, with his holy blessing and with the help of God, we are obligated to learn and understand all the paths of the footsteps of the Mashiach and the matter of the future deeds, what we have to do in the future, in according with the mission and the instructions of the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon merited to being the light of Mashiach ben Yosef in order to promote the ingathering of the exiles and reveal the hints in the Torah regarding the footsteps of Mashiach ben Yosef. The Vilna Gaon was sent down from heaven based on the words from Yeshayahu, the smallest will become 1,000, from a little will build a huge. When I have these dashes, it means I'm skipping text. Redemption and the secrets concerning the footsteps of Mashiach, and until and including the very end, they were revealed to the Vilna Gaon. He wrote about the final end in his commentary, Sifta de Tzniuta, and advising others in the name of God of Israel not to reveal it. After many of his students promised him faithfully to go to Zion and begin working there on gathering in the exiles when the awakening starts from below, because that's the point, is the awakening starts from below, then it's responded to from above. With the help of God, then the Gaon revealed to them, when they said, all right, we'll do it, we'll go. Then he revealed to them all the steps of the beginning of the redemption. According to a major principle that's in Sefer Yetzirah, everything that was, is, and will be in all the upper and lower worlds, as well as the general and personal things that will happen in every generation, these are all hinted at the Torah. According to the Gaon, all the work involved in gathering the exiles, building Jerusalem, broadening the settlement of the land of Israel, so that the Shekhinah will return to it, all the principles of that work and all the major and minor details to do with it, that's the mission and the role of the Mashiach ben Yosef, the first Mashiach. Mashiach ben Yosef is the miraculous power who will assist every act done when the awakening starts from below. Herzl, and that energy is a miraculous power that is assisting us. And we can see it now in retrospect in terms of, look what we've done. The awakening starts below, but it's an assistance that comes when the awakening comes below, and it comes in a natural manner, because it comes from the earth. Mashiach ben David is from heaven, and that's a whole thing. Mashiach ben Yosef is a composite of two of Yosef. I'm going to skip that. But it's in the chapter 3 of Kol HaTorah. It's 156 characteristics, appellations, names, aspects, and all the special attributes of Mashiach ben Yosef. 156 attributes are of what Mashiach ben Yosef is, chapter 3 of Kol HaTorah.
That is the gematria of Yosef.
Which is 156.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all that, yes. Okay, according to the Vilna Gaon, if the Israel doesn't have merit, if we don't deserve it, then the beginning of the redemption will occur because we have to do something below, as was the time of Cyrus during the Second Temple, as an act from the side of Din, left side. His left hand is under my head, Mashiach ben Yosef, meaning this will occur with the permission of the kings of the nations. And that was the whole thing about the vow. You can't return until you get permission from the nations and all that.
And in 1830, when the British Empire was at its peak, Palmerston, the Prime Minister of Britain, was very much advocating that the Jews should return to the Holy Land.
Oh, that's very interesting.
1830s.
That's very interesting. I'd like to remind me that name. I want to look up more of that.
Will do.
Later on, the complete redemption later on will come from the right side, the land of loving kindness, the line of mercy, and is written in Yeshayahu, with abundant mercy I will gather you. According to the Vilna Gaon, the ingathering of exiles at the beginning of the redemption will proceed by a deliverance and a ransom, as the ransomed of the Lord will return and come to Zion with glad song. So there's some implication there, deliverance and ransom, that it's, we'll see. And that's all Mashiach ben Yosef. The deliverance will be from the enslavement of the body and enslavement of the soul. And it has two meanings, I guess, deliverance. It refers to the fact they will return to Zion, as is written, they will come to Zion. It also comes to the fact that they will do tshuva. The shuva, returned, is the same word, returning is the same root as shuva. As the words are revealed, they will achieve joy and gladness. We have to look at the Hebrew for that to see that in that. But in any case, the most important principle, the Gaon, is that everything that will occur upon completion of the redemption will begin at the beginning of the redemption, and it'll gradually proceed. It's a slow, 999 footsteps of Mashiach, the footsteps of the flock. The Vilna Gaon began revealing secrets of the Torah when he was 20 years old, in 1740, which is the beginning of the sixth millennium, the sixth part of the sixth millennium, 1740 to 1840. And it happened on the first hour on the morning of Friday. That's the implication of it, 1740. It's the morning of Friday in the sixth millennium, Erev Shabbat. Then the Spirit of God, Spirit of Mashiach, began to move in his Holy Spirit to uncover mysteries in the Torah little by little, in accordance with the mission of the first Mashiach. And these were revelations of deep mysteries, profound secrets that were associated with the footsteps of the Mashiach, and there was no secret that was hidden from the Gaon. And as is known, he began then to travel to the Holy Land at the beginning of the second hour, which corresponds to 1782. But at that period, he became very agitated, like a storm, Sa'arat Eliyahu. He then turned his attention to the ingathering of exiles, meaning he didn't, but he sent others. Generally speaking, it all began in 1740, and from hour to hour, the footsteps have continued, because that's when he got his revelations. When he was 20 years old in 1740, that's when the revelations, and then he processed them, and And each hour is 41 years. So you have 1740,
And this
and
is
then
also this is also the time that the Baal Shem Tov had revealed himself.
yeah, that's yes. They were almost simultaneous in that way.
Yes.
I know more about this because the Sefer Kol HaTorah exists, but I know that was also they were yes.
The Baal Shem Tov was 36 years old when he revealed himself, which was 1834.
Okay, yeah. So all right, let's skip a little bit. But here, what's important here is it says in this line is that beginning at the second hour, 782, it's the entire house of Israel. Becomes now because now it's time for the mass movement. And with regards both to each individual and the collective. And it says great stuff about the Vilna Gaon. But here, the Vilna Gaon says of the 7 major principles that are connected with the footsteps of Mashiach, which is based on a sentence in Zechariah. On each stone, there were 7 eyes, apertures. I'm not going to worry about what that specifically referring to, but here it is. These are the 7 principles to do with the return. 1, Yosef is still alive. Yosef did not die. Yosef is still alive. It's encapsulating the principle Yosef is still alive, meaning Mashiach ben Yosef is still alive and will live because every aspect of the beginning of the redemption is dependent on him. And therefore the decree regarding that he will be murdered by Armulus, the wicked, will be canceled. It'll be canceled by extending the period of the Mashiach, by the afflictions that he'll suffer. Will go through more afflictions, but he won't die. There'll be a bunch of sufferings, but he won't actually. Yosef, which means the children of Israel in exile, will suffer and diseases that will bear, but also deeds that he will accomplish with great devotion, such as the gathering in of exiles. And what will also help are messianic pangs and afflictions connected with the land of Israel and our regular daily prayers for his success. And all those who occupy themselves with gathering the exiles, lightening the afflictions of Mashiach ben Yosef during the period of footsteps of Mashiach. Well, it'll help because what will happen is regarding the death of Mashiach ben Yosef, it'll be nullified, subdivided in small parts. There's a parable in the Midrash where it says there's a king became angry with his son, and he swore to throw a big stone at him, which would kill him. But afterwards, he regretted what he had said, and he had compassion, but he still had to fulfill his vow. So he broke up the big stone into many small stones and threw all these small stones at his son one by one. So that's sort of the experience we went through in exile, but we survived. Thus, the son was not killed, but he suffered from the small stones. And these are the birth pangs, the pangs of the Mashiach. The suffering will come gradually, together with 999 footsteps in such a way that the decree is divided into 999 parts, and it'll come just like it says in Jeremiah. It is a time of trouble for Jacob, but Eit Sarahi Yaakov mimena yivashea, but from it he will be saved. The general mission of Mashiach ben Yosef is threefold, revealing the mysteries in the Torah. That's the first one. The ingathering of exile and a removal of the unclean spirit. And the ingathering encompasses 3 tasks. What we have to do, build Jerusalem, gather the exiles, and to fulfill the commandments dependent on the land, the Shemitah, all the land commandments, as it says, Mi Yahaleh Behar Hashem. Let's skip that, because what they ended up doing was the light, first the ending of this, and then we'll do one more, just hang and then stop. But the might of Mashiach ben Yosef lies in the miraculous assistance that he can connect, he can offer in connection with the ingathering of exile that will come about when the awakening comes from below. When we do the awakening from below, Mashiach ben Yosef is miraculously going to help us through nature. And that's why the second thing is act and be successful. You have to do actions. One of the special characters of Mashiach ben Yosef is success when he acts. And as it says in Yosef, whatever he did, God made it prosper. And the Vilna Gaon's a great idea that he said there's only two commandments in which a person's entire body has to enter to fulfill. The commandment of the tabernacle and that of Eretz Israel. You have to be in Eretz Israel, and his tabernacle was at Shalem, his dwelling place at Zion, which is the verse that we read at the beginning. And he goes on, but basically that's, let's stop here because we're going to go too much. But just to give you, okay, the third one, and it's really the stop, but it says, in its time, I will hasten it. Meaning, Isaiah said, when this comes, there's a way to make it happen faster. And the sages mean if we merit it, God will hasten the redemption. And if not, it'll come in its own time. And the Vilna Gaon said we have to take this literally. And even if the redemption comes at its proper time, I'll still hasten it. When the smallest will come 1,000, the youngest a mighty nation, and so on. But here's what let's end here, because this is here's what many times I have witnessed the Vilna Gaon pacing around his room, speaking agitatingly. This is Rabbi Hillel, who was 18 years a Shamash. He says, many times I saw the Vilna Gaon pacing around the room, speaking agitatedly, saying, Lord of the universe, Melech HaOlam, don't you have a middle road between its time and I will hasten it? We insist on the plain interpretation of your promise. I am the Lord in its time. I will hasten it. So please hasten it. And then, but the other condition is we have to possess it and conquer it. We have to be willing to possess it and conquer it. And we'll see the other three tomorrow. But, the battle, he's saying all the battle to do with Israel, it's all part of the steps. So it's, and we're very lucky that we can review this in light of what we've seen since then, all of this come true. Because we were willing to do whatever it takes to conquer it and to take possession of it. But unfortunately, in its time, I will hasten it. Who knows? Because we didn't have to go through the Shoah. But in every case, I want to bless us that we can really be agents and the Vilna Gaon, the little one that became thousands and millions. If we understand that this is what's happening, is that Mashiach ben Yosef, what makes the pilots so successful? That they can fly thousands of missions and all the stuff that Israel's doing, and it's extraordinary, the success that with our efforts. But here the Vilna Gaon says very clearly, once the people of Israel start making the moves to do whatever it takes to return and rebuild, Mashiach, God through the natural world is miraculously going to help us. And that's a huge blessing because we need it. Yes, one of the saddest moments I had in a long time was on Shabbat at Shul. One of the people there, his son is one of the fighters in Jordan whose group, 10 of them were injured last week, one unit. Well, his son is part of that unit. He didn't get injured. And we made tefillot for everyone who got injured in that. But just speaking to him, and it's we need God's miraculous help, because it's still it's people are giving their lives to so that I can sit here comfortably in Jerusalem and share this Torah about the rebirth of Israel. And these are the people that are, well, they're carrying through what the Vilna Gaon says. We have to be willing to act and be successful, because that's the good part about it. If we act, we will be successful. And there's no greater proof than that than Herzl, for example, right? Because it's the most outrageous thing in the world. And who was he that, and boof, poof, poof, and God moved that along. So may we be blessed, because this whole story is about that. As we develop the fusion of the living divine will fuse into our material life in an extraordinary way, and Israel will just be sprouting divinely and bringing great light to the entire world. So may our learning and yearning bring immediate victory to Tzva Haganah Israel, healing of all the wounded, comfort to all the mourners, and elevated souls, and give the elevated souls elevation and blessing. And please, God of miracles, who does miracles alone, feel free to do lots of miracles alone. Venomar.
Amen. Amen.
All right, thank you for letting me share that. That's it. We didn't actually. I even had a piece of Rav Kook that I thought would go with, but we didn't get that far with it. But I think it's important to understand, because there's it's quite remarkable. And there's one more list of 7 that follows this, and then we'll go back into Rav Kook. But that's the core. But if anybody wants to, the book is online. It's on Sefaria, Kol HaTorah, and you can even just skim through it, the different parts and stuff. It's super, super fascinating, and very important. It's basically the Kabbalah's teachings about the rebirth of Israel. So, yeah.